I always wanted to be somebody and do something special. But I grew up in a very, very hard, very poverty-stricken, alcoholic family. There's a lot of things there. And so it's a very torturous place to be when you have ambition and you have that drive, but you have no way to realize it. So it's not a dream. It's kind of a nightmare. So anytime I dare to pop up and do that, I just get knocked down, kind of like whack-a-mole. But eventually, things started to change, and it all started with mindset.
My guest today is Mike Ashabraner, known as the Redneck Connector and founder of the Hounds of Business, a community built on real connection and real results. He's helping entrepreneurs grow their network and their net worth, turning relationships into real opportunity and real wealth. Welcome back to Call Cut with Angelique. I'm Angelique, and today I have a really special friend, Mike. Thank you so much for joining me. Mike he is a powerhouse in every sense of the word. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have Mike here on this show is because Mike is one of those wonderful souls that you meet that is out there in the world doing everything for everyone else. He's got the Hounds of Business. He's known as the Redneck Connector. And he is out there trying to bring all of these people together so they can have their wishes and their dreams. And he's in there moving and shaking and getting all these people connected. But sometimes when you're the connector and you're the person who's doing all these wonderful things, we forget about you. And so I wanted to bring you here because I want to hear your story.
Oh my goodness, you got me blushing like a tomato. My goodness, I appreciate you. It's all about trust and alignment to me. And, Kevin Smith connected us, kindness worldwide. Enough said. Birds of a feather do flock together. So it's an absolute pleasure. And folks, I had the privilege, met you for 5 minutes, and then you got to host a kickoff show on the HOB Live. Right? I mean, wow. And I was afraid that folks would want you to host from now on instead of me. That's how well that went. But yeah, for me, the overall theme, to answer the question, Angelique, is constant failure. I grew up very dirt poor in the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s. So we didn't have the internet, right? You had whatever was in the local library, which usually wasn't much. And also why I say abstract things, because I ran out of stuff to read. And so I was open to the Eastern philosophy section was the only thing I didn't read. Yeah. So when you're a redneck guy reading Sun Tzu and, Confucius. Yeah. So, but the point is, just to get it going, I always wanted to be somebody and do something special. But I grew up in a very, very hard, very poverty-stricken, alcoholic family. There's a lot of things there. And so it's a very torturous place to be when you have ambition and you have that drive, but you have no way to realize it. So it's not a dream. It's kind of a nightmare. And so anytime I dare to pop up and do that, I just get knocked down, kind of like whack-a-mole. And but eventually, not to spoil the whole thing, eventually things started to change. And it all started with mindset. It all started with my awareness, right? Those tapes, those programmings. Yeah, that's where I grew up in. That's what I was taught. But that doesn't mean that's what I have to keep. That doesn't mean that's how I have to progress. So the long story short is this. I learned how to take 44 years of dog do. I'll be proper here. And no, because it seemed a lot of folks out there, even high level people, and life just keeps throwing you dog do until I realized, you know what? Fertilizer is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. And I thought, wow. So when I started thinking, instead of victimhood and how awful is this, and it was awful, but you know what? Maybe I can turn it around. And so that's what the sky view was. I said, in my 40s, I just got the end of myself. And I said, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when you get to that point, you are dangerous in the most positive way, because now courage comes out, right? Mm-hmm. Now you just do stuff because you don't even care if the outcome doesn't work, right? I think I'm preaching to the choir here. And so that was the long story short, but it was a mindset, and I had to take 44 years, and now we have a community to help people amplify, not go through that, and, elevate so they can have new problems, so they can make, bigger impact faster. And so I'm grateful for that life, because I wanted a new life for 44 years, and now I couldn't help people if I didn't have that crap life. Does that make sense?
Oh my God, of course. Nothing in our story is ever by accident. Absolutely everything leads to the thing. It just does not feel happy and comfortable getting there. And I always say, right? People who have a big destinies in service to others tend to take a more difficult road to get there because it's easy to be service to self. It's easy to step on other people to get where you're trying to go. It's easy to be negative in a negative reality. It's not easy to be positive in a negative reality. And you said it several times as you were talking about your mindset that you absolutely you kept changing your mind and changing your mind. And that's really the power. That's where it lies. You are living proof that it doesn't matter what your beginnings are. It doesn't matter how many times you've been in shit, and had to dig yourself out of it. You can rise to the top as long as your mind knows you can rise to the top.
Amen.
Yeah, that's the most important, at least from my perspective. Yes, I've also been in the dog crap as well, uh, many times with big old dogs that like to crap on you.
Yeah.
And yeah, and well, let me say this. Small little wee dogs who think they're big dogs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's the truth. Yeah.
because anybody who is of a big heart will not have the necessity to try to tear someone else down or to even look at anyone else as inferior to them.
It's finding them because that was the problem. I encountered folks who, did, and now I see in hindsight, it wasn't that they were necessarily evil people. They just weren't healed. They never took personal responsibility. They never would call out and say, this is a problem. They bury their head in the sand. And I'm talking to me too. Okay. I did that. But there's two types of people in this world. There's hurt people and there's people who know they're hurt and start healing. That's it. And our people, we're not saying we're better. We're just saying the invitation's open until you go, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to repeat toxic patterns. I'm not going to, because I was hurt, I'm not going to hurt others. And that's our people. And honestly, as wild as it is, big business is being done and on that relatability. Belonging and trust is really, it's the one thing that even the wealthiest people can't buy that's priceless. And that's so I'm out here as a lighthouse for folks who think they're not good enough, believe in the negative tapes, believe in all that stuff. It's not true. It is absolutely not true. But you have to take command of it. You have to learn the principles of success, right? Just like the principles of gravity. The good news is it doesn't discriminate. Neither do success principles. And harmony and happiness is not elusive. You just don't know it yet.
That's
Or
right.
you haven't, took
That's
the courage
right.
to practice it yet. And that's when you come in our ecosystem and you see other people doing it, well, you're likely to do it. And that's the point, right? So,
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting that you say that because it is true that hurt people hurt people.
hmm,
It's also true, and this is something that I've been finding in the wellness space, is that there are people who do take advantage of people's vulnerability.
mhm.
And there are so many people who are out there trying their best to heal, but they're coming up against unhealed healers. And that's why it is so important, that you do the work and you do the healing for yourself. Otherwise, I don't know, the ego's still running the show there. And right? Well, we need the ego to kind of separate so people can find their lane and not feel like, well, I'm not good enough or I'm not this or I'm not that. No, you're all of that. You just don't see it yet. And you certainly don't have to be like anybody else. You got to be yourself, whatever that is, but only you know what that is.
I love that. And, just to piggyback off that, because there's so much there. And it does have everything to do with your happy, your harmony, and your ability to lead a business, grow a business, make an impact, a nonprofit, whatever it is it's on your heart. But you're right. It's like parenthood. My kid's job, 13 and 7, God help me, girls, right? So their job is to get away with shit. My job is to not let it. And that's how I kind of view it. People will
hmm
only do as much as you allow. Now, that is a big far cry from my, oh my goodness, how could this happen? Why I expect people to be nice like me. And it's not a negative thing. But now, and we talked about this on my podcast, what I've learned was discernment was my problem and facing reality. So here's how it goes. It, it's not what they do, it's how I respond. So in other words, can I be a very loving, kind guy, businessman that I set out to be, and also have boundaries? Yes. So when you have conflicting values at this level, it's simple. You don't have to stack them and say, well, do I choose a value? What you do, what I found the hard way, is you say you temper it. So I am a loving guy who leads with heart, but I temper that with strength and boundaries. Now that when I think of that, I think of you, and I don't say flattering stuff. I've seen you in action. You're right.
Thank you.
You're a very loving lady, but you have been through enough to realize you're not going to allow it. And it's not an ego, because if I allow this to happen, that 200-year vision that will outlive me will not happen. And that's the evolution. But it all starts, like you alluded to, it all starts with self-awareness. And it all starts with, hey, that was unjust. Those things were hurtful. But like Goggins says, nobody's coming to save me. I can do this. And I will go out there and find every avenue, everything I can find, people, resource, Jim Rome, you name it. And I will do this. And yeah, maybe it's for your kids at first, but spoiler alert, it becomes you, because you deserve it. And that's the whole point. I mean, yes, we do business, but we unite. We unite under a common banner, because everybody's broken. Everybody deals with guilt and shame. And the sad reality is we think we're the only ones. And the truth is other people are just better at hiding it than you are. When's the last time you went on Facebook and saw somebody post a clogged toilet? You don't. And and you think you're the only one with nonsense kids, scrambling for the bus and have a clogged toilet.
That's right.
So in the Hounds, it's like we all know our toilets are clogged, and it's okay, and let's help build better toilets or whatever. Right? You see the
You're
pattern here.
right. Yeah.
And I love that. And that's why I was so excited to come here, because this has everything to do with business and harmony in life. When you get this right, the rest follows. I used to think, I'm valuable if I can provide value. I'm valuable if people affirm me. Well, yeah, we're in business. We need that. We need, results and KPI. But the spoiler alert was I kept trying to manifest the thing, only to find out I am the thing. I produce value because I'm already intrinsically valuable. It's wild. And this is coming from a redneck, but truth is truth. And that's my calling card. I want people to be free, because the God's honest truth is this. We sit back and we go, why isn't things that are due to our heart, homelessness, insecurity, equality, why is that not getting better? Well, I've uncovered the reason. A major reason is because the good-hearted men and women like us, right, who are willing to take the hits, who are willing to go down the path that the life gave us, we're motivated to help others go through the crap we did, and better. We don't have the people, resources, and support. And before that, we don't have the courage and the self-worth and the self-love necessary to carry it.
One thing that you said, well, you said a bunch of things, but the one thing I was thinking, part of it is our programming. We're programmed to fail. And hear me out on this, because people look at me, they're like, no, we're not. We are programmed to fail. And the reason we're programmed to fail is because they put you in an arena that's not fair. You come in with all this bias. You come in with all these programs that other people don't have. You also come in with a different, economic background. You come in with a different cultural background. Whatever it is, it's not fair. And it's not designed to be fair, right? It's always designed for certain groups to win and other groups to have to really fight to get where they're going, until these other groups realize that the only reason these groups are winning is because they have the winning mindset. And that's the difference. You come into the world, or I come into the world, and we're already told you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And if you believe it, well, and unfortunately, that's the reality you're going to create. What I think we're doing in this space with Kindness Worldwide, with what you're doing with the Hounds, what I'm doing with Call Cut and all the other, whatever I'm doing over there, it's all about helping people get into the right mindset. And the mindset is to 100% break that wheel, if you will, that bullshit comparison competition nonsense, move into the collective creative space and find your star, because your star is there. You just got to grab it down.
That's it.
It never wasn't there. They told you that it's a blacked out sky, and I'm telling you it's not. So yeah, I think what you said is so interesting, that you've created, even with everything happening in your life, you've created this massive empire for yourself that's only growing, but it's in service to others.
Oh, yes, ma'am. You just put, I don't even know what to say. I don't think I should say anything, because I 100% agree with that. And here's the difference. The business application of what you just unfolded and what we just talked about, I realized early on. I said, advertising is, people pay for it. It's all about us, and they expect it, or our business. And I'm not knocking at it. What I'm saying is, it's like taking a football player and sticking him in the water polo pool, right? Like, what's going to happen if you wear the football uniform in the pool? So what I noticed was, instead of fighting upstream and trying to bash my square peg in a round hole, or instead of trying to get this dog to meow to be successful, I said, I don't like it. So why would I master and do something 12 hours out of the day to build a heart-centered business and make money? And I hate it. I want to be the same man at the gas station, multi-million dollar deals, church, everywhere. I didn't know that you could do that. Very rarely could you see anybody not performing in some capacity. So, and not because I'm some brilliant guru. This was a last ditch effort right before I gave up, because I said, if I can't build a business as I am, as heart-centered, and business marriages, not one-night stands, then I'm going to go be a daggum rodeo clown or some shit I could be. I was done. I was sick and tired of it. So then I tried something. I said, you know what people may not expect? Let me experiment. What they don't expect is hundreds and thousands of super pros of high reputations of all different industries to run around and say you're great. You can't manufacture that at the corner store. You can't, because there's no way folks like you and Kevin are going to risk your reputation, hard-fought, success, to go out there and say something that you can't back up and believe. And I had no idea at the time, 4 years ago, I was on to something. I just thought I was just some crazy dude. And it's like Field of Dreams. I built it because I had nothing to lose. I didn't care anymore about what people thought. I was done. And like the movie Field of Dreams, I built it and people started coming. It was miraculous. It was absolutely. And no, it wasn't kumbaya and we just off. It was a very nasty up and down roller coaster that I would never change for the world. And I can't believe I say that. I was so hurt by things, but I look back and I just remind myself, and there's people listening right now. They can't tell their multi-million-dollar law firm partners this, and that's why I'm saying it. I look back and say, if it had not been for that and them, I wouldn't be here with you right now. I wouldn't
Right.
be champion kindness worldwide. We wouldn't be enabling folks to go next level and produce our little Tony Robbins factory if I didn't go through that shit. And that's what I want. I want people to know we need you to get out there. You don't have to be someone you're not. And great, maybe we're a great fit for you. But here's the deal. If we're not, I'll send you somewhere where you can thrive. Even opposite camps and opposite communities. If they're honest, I'm good. Like, I want people to know what you're doing, understand, get all the information you need to build properly. And then the support system, if it's us, great. If it's someone else, let me connect you. I'm the Redneck Connector. That's what I do. Let me get you where you need to go. That's how I learned. I said, I'm not against anyone. I am against the things that are holding back, the impact. There's so much division. I can't do anything on a national level. But I can carve out this little tiny virtual dot known as the Hounds of Business, or Redneck Camelot, as I refer to it, behind the
I
scenes.
like that.
Right, you got the whole world to do whatever. But listen, I'm carving this out because there's a need for it and because I went to it. And that's what I can control. And I had no idea that I would be in this position and see the results and see the magnitude, because now I push up you and Kevin. And what do people like you and Kevin do just because that's who you are by nature? You repay it. That's why I'm here. And so I'm not knocking others. I'm saying, if you're bashing your square peg in a round hole, if you're not able to be harmonious and happy, there may be another way. Keep looking. And maybe this is it. Maybe it's not. Just don't give up.
Yeah. And I love everything that you're saying right now, because a lot of people feel the struggle, but they don't feel the reward. The reward is in the struggle. You have to dig a little bit to find it. And what you said about I wouldn't trade any of this in. Yeah, because the heart has to break open in order for the light to come out. When the light opens, that's when the heart can navigate you through the dark, because your senses no longer work. Your eyes don't work, your ears don't work. You need the heart to take you through. And that is, in my opinion, the most treacherous journey you're ever going to take. You're blind, you're deaf, and you're only relying on your heart. And you are going to come up against, you're going to hit walls. You're going to do all of that because you can't see and you can't hear, right? You're going to come up against all of this adversity. But the point is, you have to keep going down that path. Let the heart lead you. It's leading you. And yeah, it's going to lead you down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill. But if you trust it, you're going to end up exactly where you're supposed to be. And I feel like that is your story. That's also my story. But something you said when we were on the live stream, or maybe it was before, that really stuck with me. You said, well, I hope when I get funding, I'll be able to just give people money to help get their dreams come true and stuff like that. You know, I'll tell you something, Mike. I talk to way too many people in a day. That's probably not healthy, but most people are looking for what they can get off of someone, right? When I heard you say that and I knew it was coming right from your heart, I said, wow, look at this. Well, we have now gone into a Technicolor timeline that we have not been in for a while because that is not the heart space, right? Again, programmed not to be the heart space, but
Right.
that is not the general heart space. Most folk are not out there trying to connect with people because they really want those people to do well. They want to connect with people in hopes that that connection leads somewhere for them, which isn't a bad thing in and of itself. But the problem is with energy, frequency, and vibration, it's all down to your intention. So if you want to have clean, beautiful relationships with people that elevate consciousness, you got to come into it with the right intention. Otherwise, you're going to end up coming low level with that lower level vibration where people are competition, comparison, and just jealousy because they're coming in with an agenda. And you had none of that. And I saw that very first time and I thought, ooh, okay, we're not in Kansas anymore. Maybe Kentucky, but we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, in the spaces we work in, you meet a lot of wonderful people, but you also meet people that are, passing through with different agendas. And it can be hard sometimes to navigate because it can be an ugly space.
Mhm.
But when you do find people that are on that level, that are really all doing it from the heart, you do want to lift them up. You do want to highlight them. You do want them to say, like, hey, look at this amazing human who's in this world, go forth and be merry.
If I can sum that up in one story that folks can take away, I could do it.
Yeah, you do.
So, because I want people to know it's not woo woo and feel good, because a lot of times we hear that. And so, Podfest, I had the opportunity. It was a privilege to be chosen as a speaker at Podfest. And long story short, if I ever had one, or shorter, was this because country people like stories. Let's get real. But so I,
So do Italians.
yeah. So I applied over and over, at the last minute. And then I pulled up this guy. This guy is a very high level guy, very heart centered, and he's in the community. And at first I thought, he really wants to save money on rent or, the hotel expenses. He's like, hey, you can go there with me and apply to be a speaker. Well, long story shorter is it didn't work. And so I said, okay, it's the last hour, And so I told this man, and this man said, hang on a second. We were on a Zoom call. He picks up the phone, makes a phone call. 2 days later, I'm sitting in front of one of the executives. Folks, I challenge you. Cold DM and cold email and see if it's not. Spoiler alert, don't waste your time. So you're putting the horse before the cart. We're not saying you need funnels and, you shouldn't want something. What we're saying is be transparent and honest. Internal clarity before external. So here's what happened. We go out there, Kevin Smith, right? We got their documentary film for such a time as this. It was the first debut that they ever done at Podfest, and they put that documentary in there private showing. Well, how did that happen? Because I'm a big supporter. They were leaning in. I got a speaker spot, and I gave an invitation. I shared it. I didn't have to sell it. They already knew me. I gave value, and I brought Podfest in. I said, hey, and they went, oh my goodness. They came in there and saw that. I didn't follow up with any cheesy emails, any of that, traditional, oh, hey, Billy, none of that. I let them go. I said, if you excited by this, here's the next step. If you're not, tell Sally. Maybe she is. And the result of that was boom. And that snowball just kept continuing over and over until I met a lady. And I'll stop on this point because that has not stopped. That snowball is growing. So what happened is I met a lady who is absolutely extraordinary. She is top rank 1%. She's just brilliant. And she knows every psychological trick in the book. So I looked at that and my internal talk was, what can I give this lady? I mean, she's got it all. I mean, at least, and I said, well, maybe, I didn't know. I said, but maybe you could be that one person in the last 3 decades that just was there. You have no agenda. As you said earlier, Angelique, you have no, let's build a relationship so I can, get something. I seriously challenged myself. None. Stop it. We went out, we talked. Another lady came out. We just talked. I had no agenda. If they talked, I shut up, believe it or not. And you know what happened? I remember walking into the doors, and this amazing lady turns around, also Italian, and she says, "Oh my goodness, Mike, I'm coming on your show." I said, "Oh my goodness." I said, "You promised? I thought you never asked." I wanted that, but I had no illusion to that. I had no agenda for that. And that relationship kept going. So I want the folks out there to know we're not bragging. What we're saying is there's a lot of good-hearted people out there. You went through a lot. Yes, it's a fallen world. There's a lot of negativity in this world. But if you're looking for the positive, you'll find the positive. Or you'll create your own positive like I did. And so I appreciate this space because this is not woo-woo. This is proven. We have a community for that. We put people into an ecosystem. It's not a community, it's not just a chat room or a checklist or a networking. It's a living, breathing ecosystem. Horse before the cart, right? And I want people to be encouraged. Your audience has heart, and a lot of them are stuck. The way you get on is what do I do? Man, go do something. And then when somebody knocks you off your wheel, get right back up. Get on as fast as possible because I got knocked down when I put this bucket hat on and, I almost was done. And then my second experience was with Supermom, Michelle Atkins. And that woman, she gets the credit or blame for all this you see here because if it wasn't for her, I would be gone. So you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down a lot. But that resilience you speak of is not some stuff we write at coffee shops. That's God's honest truth. So our community, yeah, we're business focused, but as you can tell, you got to come equipped with heart. You come as yourself, you leave as your best self. And that's what we're about.
Oh, I like that. Another t-shirt. Come as yourself, leave as your best self.
Bumper sticker.
I like it.
I probably heard that
something.
somewhere. I don't remember, but maybe it was original. I don't know.
Maybe it was. Who knows? You're pulling it from somewhere.
Tailpipes.
See, I love this because this is the beauty of synchronicity and, there are no accidents. Everyone is crossing paths and everything is coming in exactly at the time it's supposed to come in, for good, for bad. And it's just whether or not, you said this before and it's true, whether or not we're receiving it through the eyes of love or the eyes of fear. And there is a big difference. And it really only boils down to two because all the negative comes through fear. And all the positive comes through love, whether it's self-love, love for others. And most of that starts with the self, right? When we love ourselves, we're able to explode out to others. And it's hard sometimes when you've been cut down. But as Rocky would say, it doesn't matter how many times you get hit. It's how many times you get up and you keep going. That's how winning gets done. And it's true. And the one thing we want to win at is life. We get so focused on wealth and money, but to me, the most important thing is your spiritual self. It is the part of you that understands that you're not taking any of that stuff with you. And even if there's legacy here, et cetera, we're not going to remember it, So for us, what is the thing you take with you? Your soul, right? When you leave this earth, you did something great and you get to take that on and on and on. And what you said about my audience is so true. Let me tell you, Mike, when I tell you these are some of the best people, I could get really choked up. Some really, really beautiful people who are in their own journeys and in their own, phases of life. And they're just trying to figure it out. And they're trying to get to the next level. And they're trying to make sense of the goddamn senseless, everything that's going on in this world.
A lot of it.
And so to have people like you saying, keep going. And there is a support system out there. And these are heart-led entrepreneurs. These are people that don't want to be in part of a rat race. They're not into the hustle and grind. They don't want to step on people's faces. They're ready to go for that next, heart-led sort of journey. And I feel like it is a possibility because we're living it, we're doing it, and you can do it.
I have to interject this. There was an ultra high level lady. I mean, I didn't even understand how high level. It came from a relationship recently. And she had said something, and I can just sense it. I mean, once you go through stuff, you get x-ray vision. You can see it. No, I saw it in you. I was like, okay, birds of a feather. Had to be, and then it didn't take long to realize, hey, this is somebody who's been through and overcome and continues to heal and grow. So I saw this lady and I went, and I had made again, back to clarity. I had made the decision to not perform, not to get excited, not to go, ooh, I got to do this so she'll work with me. And I said, so I sat down, and I don't remember what it was she said, but when she said it, that was it. I opened up. I think it was something that I said like, I used to cry at night over that. Or, I had trauma. I had this. I just let it loose. And the look on this lady's face was just amazing. Because think about that. It goes back to what we said. We stuff it in. They can't tell anyone. Oftentimes you can't even tell your family, right? Especially them sometimes. And you can't tell your colleagues. You can't tell other people at high level because we're all afraid that they'll think down on us and, not have confidence in us and pull business. And when I opened up, it was instantaneous. It was probably a 30-minute floodgate of this lady it was unbelievable. We just met. That's what it's about. And what did I say at the end of that? Nothing. I was like, well, now what? There was no agenda. And you know what happened? Oh, I'm not going to spoil it because it's in progress. But not only did they see value in what we were doing, they decided that they wanted to brand and they saw the real case studies. They saw the real need. Guys, really? Would any polished content and sales funnel now, guess what? The funnels and the stuff, they come after. Horse before the cart. So connect with people. Connect with people. Screw outcomes. Right? Farming versus hunting. That's all I'm gonna cap it at that. Yes, you gotta shoot your food, hunt for sales, pay the bills, but do not use that as a longevity tool. That's not your strategy. Here's your strategy. If you're a heart-centered person, more than likely you're going to farm. Right? Because if you farm well and you plant enough seeds and you take care of the land, you don't dig them up, you do all the things, what happens? You get a harvest. And then you keep getting a harvest. So I don't have to shoot for my food and do tactical sales. I invest and love on people. I'll give them clear call to action if they want to help me. And if they don't want to help me and it's a business deal, get the paper signed. That's a different thing. I'm not saying there's not a place and time for deal. But my point is, Kevin Smith, right? It was all about unity of values and shared vision, and we're doers. That's why I'm here with you, because the value. Now what comes after that, sky's the limit, right? But I want people to stop believing. And listen, if you sell trinkets on Amazon, you don't need to hug people. Fantastic. This ain't for you. If you're doing well with transactions and it's not for you, do you. I'm not knocking you. But there's so many people like us, and they're dying inside over this, to be honest. And I just saw a case study of that. That lady kept investing. She kept buying stuff. People kept selling stuff. I put her in a little container, helped her out, sent her to the right people, like a doctor. Hey, let's diagnose. Let's see what's happening. Send her to the right people. That was in October. This lady went through that up and down journey you talked about. I just got the text yesterday. Hey, I just got my first big client. Thank you so much because it was in her best interest. Invest in people and don't fake it. If that sounds crazy to you, do not use that tactic because it's going to hurt you. But if you're somebody out there trying to be transactional because you think that's the only way and you hate it and you cry at night over it or it keeps you up, and welcome to the Hounds. Shameless plug. That's who we are.
It's so interesting that you said that. It is about finding your people. It's a tribe thing, because tribe and vibe are, you find your tribe with your vibe. And then I say this with the call cut method. That's what we want to do. We want to align with your highest self. So we keep calling cut on all those old narratives so that we can get to that point. But most folk are operating on what they think they deserve. And that's why they ultimately end up bringing these people into their lives who can't really do much for them. And they run around in circles and circles, and they get involved in projects that never go anywhere. Or in my case, I would have people constantly, give me money for this, put this and that, produce that for me, this and that. And for a while I was doing it. I was like, I loved the idea of making people's dreams come true. Until one day you wake up and realize, no, this isn't the way to do it. I wasn't doing it from a healthy place. I was doing it from the wrong spot.
Me too.
And when I realized that, I said to myself, okay, we're going to put a big fat pause on this right now. And we are going to realign this energy and figure out where it needs to land. Because yes, I love to help people. I want to help them all day, every day. But you'd be surprised. Well, no, you would not be surprised. But my audience would be surprised the kinds of pitch slapping you get all day long. even as a woman, I remember this guy sent me a message once and said, "You're gonna do this and this and this and this, and you're gonna do it for free." And I wrote, "No, but thanks for playing." When you approach people, and you said it before about, people, remember that you approach people in a good way, those people are gonna remember you, and I will. I'll say, "Oh, you know who's looking for somebody? This person. You know who was looking for funding for their movie? This person." And I sit down with a lot of investors, a lot. And you know what? I will. If I have something on the top of my mind that I'm like, "Oh, I just met this screenwriter, or I just met this filmmaker." It's not the ones who are, telling me to piss off or to work on their projects for free, I'll tell you that. But it is
Amen.
the ones that are, right, that are coming with a genuine heart. And I don't forget you. I won't. The minute I hear something, I will say it. So you do make an impression, for good or for bad.
First of all, I never get out of connector mode. I just wrote down 2 people that I'm going to connect you to because of what you just said. Because that's going to amplify the positive effect in this world. Good Lord knows we have enough. But just real quick, I love how you frame that. And I noticed that dating and marketing, I teach this, the Hounds practice it. I see very little, if no difference in dating and marketing, right? If the people that do the marketing, the DMs, the me, and all that stuff you talked about, if you do that in the dating world, that's called assault, Jack. So if you don't do it, if you don't do it in dating, don't do it in marketing. And here's the question. I love to know, let's just do this. Because I love to know, folks, comment on this. Let's have fun. Does the most attractive, I don't just mean physically, I just mean radiate, inner, outer beauty kind of stuff. Does the most attractive man and woman at the singles club, do they need a sales pitch when they first walk in?
Not when they first walk in.
They just need to be.
They just need to be. Although, hang on, right? Because if we're really going to go there, we're going to go there.
Let's go there.
Let's go there. The physical avatar is only going to take you so far, because who's minding this thing? Is it the ego or is it the heart? And if it is the heart, you will be the most beautiful person in the world, regardless of what you look like.
Seriously.
And that is a fact. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You don't need to do all that fancy schmancy crap that everybody tells you to do and all the capitalistic bullshit. No, you don't. You just need to live from your heart. But conversely, you could be the most stunning specimen. And you open your mouth, and if that ego is running the show, that serpent tongue is going to blow it for you. And suddenly, people aren't as attracted to you. So the physical avatar is only going to get you so far, because your energy, your soul, and your heart, that's the machine. And that's the power.
And so it is with your sales pitch and everything else. You could have, like you said, you could have the best, well-branded website, but when you sit down on that call, it better match up, Jack, and it better match up with everything you're doing. And that's what I hear. It's hard for me to hear this sometimes. I came from a doormatty type of, no self-worth kind of mentality for 4 decades. It's old habits, creep up. But I had a man that I respect say yesterday after our Women's Month Zoom, and he's not going to lie. He's not going to be on the phone. He's a busy man. So, he's going to tell the truth. And I realized I have a problem accepting that. But this man is not flattering me. He's like, hey, if I can push Mike up to his confidence and his certainty, and, that gap where Mike thinks he is versus where he really is, if I can help him close that gap, we're all going to get more, people and more opportunity, more fun, more money, more impact, more legacy building. And that's it. So that's why I leave voice messages, because when people look at me, they think, it's a costume or something. But when I leave a voice message, I had a very high level branding man lose it. And he told me, I took a picture of it because I was like, nobody believe it. He said, oh my goodness. He said, I wondered if you were just a great branding profile. He really didn't think I was who I was. But as soon as I left that voice message, well, hey, Hoss, how you doing? And by the way, side note, that's my pickup line, okay? This lady came in and she gave me all this gush. You know this lady. And you know what my first response to her was? She said very kind, nice things to me. And I said, I appreciate you. And I let it go. And it's not just because it was a good tactic, because it was honest. And when's the last time she saw that? She's waiting for the gotcha. She's waiting for the connection. She's waiting for the sales. She can wait till hell freezes over. It'll never happen. You know what'll happen is in 3 or 4 weeks or some period of time, I'll have something of value that can generate curiosity. And I'm going to message that lady, hey, I got something of value, no pressure. but I wanted to bring it to you first. Folks, that's people skills. That's heart. You can incorporate that in business. I got a whole daggum framework for that. I got a whole community of people doing that. And that's what I'm here for, is to say we're not bragging. We're sick and tired of seeing people go, oh, well, it's not for me. Bullshit, it is for you.
Yeah.
And what you need, and I'm telling you, the last common denominator is not my brilliance or framework or funnels or media network. Yeah, those are powerful. But people are dying for trustworthiness and honesty,
Yeah.
and relatability. Hey, I like you. Now let's talk business. And I'm not saying it's the only way. It's my way, and I own that. And if other people don't like it, guys, it's not a personal thing. It's self-selection. It's a filter. Bald people should not be buying perms. Let's get real. Selling vegans a steak dinner. Listen, I used to have the greatest steak in the world, Angelique, and then I would be sad because the vegan didn't like my steak dinner. Well, they're vegans. It doesn't matter how good the steak is. That's what I want you guys. You're out there thinking you stink and you can't. You're wearing your football uniform in the daggum pool. That's
right.
the calling card. So I didn't mean, again, I want to get the point across. And I appreciate your grace and letting me do that, because that's it. Once we connect, we'll figure it out.
No, it's the way to be. And you know what it is, Mike? Really, it comes down to being unapologetically you,
Yes, ma'am.
right? You didn't wake up one day and say, oh, you know what would be a good gimmick? If I don, if I don this hat and I go out there and I pretend I'm this redneck connector. No, you're sitting in an energy that you felt is you, and you allow the gift to live through that. This is why manufactured popularity does not work in the long run, because the public persona and the soul will eventually come to a head. When they are not compatible and they are not riding on the same train, they will eventually have a conflict of interest. And when they have a conflict of interest, we humans feel that distortion. We feel that crack, and we no longer trust you. And this is what we have with a lot of people who are in the public eye, why we have trust issues and why we don't necessarily vibe. And by the way, not everybody is going to be the same vibe for the same people.
No.
That's just life, right? Vibe and tribe. But if you're going to be anything in this world, be you. You are the signature.
Oh, there's a whole lot of folks that saying it inside of themselves. Well, I don't know who I am. See, that's where you start, Jack. And here's the spoiler alert. I had no clue, Angelique, and I love your feedback. No one told me that it was an option, that I define success for myself, that I define happiness and harmony, that I can question even gurus and be right about that, right for me. Like, for example, everybody talks about harm or business balance. Well, you need balance, which assumes that everything's in equal proportion. I struggled to bash my square peg in the round hole, and then one day I woke up and said, that's nonsense. Every time I take a physical step, I'm off balance. So that makes no sense. So the point is I said, instead of balance, even though all the damn gurus are telling me that, what really makes sense? And what I come up with was harmony. Well, harmony makes a whole hell of a lot more sense, because sometimes I'm going to have to grind and not see my family. Now, that shouldn't be the norm. But also, when I'm done with the big project, hit the big deal, now me and the family spend a week together. See, harmony is self-defined. But my point is I used to worry because I thought, oh my God, instead of stopping and going, what's the real issue? Well, I'm subscribed to something that doesn't belong to me just because some guru or parent or school or society just kind of, tells you that should be it. And the gimmick wasn't what you see today. My hat, my $2 vest is not the gimmick. The gimmick was the suit I wore for 40 years as a fiduciary, because what fiduciary have you ever seen look like this? And then I wondered why people didn't want to do business with me, because, come on.
No, I think it's more that it wasn't your calling and you had something bigger. And so your soul was pushing you out of the suit. I don't think it had much to do with your physical, but what you make a fabulous point about, again, all the narratives that we are told to buy into. And listen, friends, and I've said this a million times, and Mike, you could speak on this experience as well. Just because something's popular doesn't mean it's always good for you. So you really have to use your discernment. You have to use your intuition. You have to take what resonates and leave the rest. And this goes for the highest levels because you have to remember people are managed, people have handlers, there is marketing teams, there are talking points, there are all sorts of manufactured things that go behind certain machines in order to get you to do something or buy something, et cetera. So you really have to learn to discern. Oh, there we go. I'm going to have my own shirt. Learn to
Not
discern.
here. I just showed up and
And
started talking. We didn't do any of that. So this disclaimer, this is real raw. Go ahead. All right.
yeah, no. Well, the thing is, when we met, Kevin and Mike Bingo told me, they asked me if I would co-host with you, and I said sure. It was a Woman's Day, and you were coming through them, so I was like, all right, why not? But then when I met you, I was like, oh, all right, I really like this guy's vibe, and that's the most important thing to me. And right, and obviously it was a symbiotic sort of thing. Because if you don't vibe with somebody or you don't vibe with something, it's not for you. And all the universe will kind of pull you away from it. And we think that's failure or destruction, but it's not. It's actually redirecting you and realigning you to the right thing and the right people. We just got to go through shit. We walk through the dog crap to get
Yeah.
there, but
Here's how I put your eloquence in redneck speak. You're an oak tree in a sea of tumbleweeds. Folks, that's the mantra. And that's not, again, for folks who don't know us yet or me, it's not ego, but what it is that I'm not trying to say, well, if I act like this, then I can get that. Well, it's kind of like Bruce Lee said, be water. Well, listen, water can show up in three forms: solid, liquid, and gas. So it's always water. You always get me. But, one of the things that popped up is everybody sees me hugging babies and signing Applebee's napkins. That's my default, and that's what I'll enjoy. That doesn't mean that I can't do business with people who want to play around. So the other day it was a while back. I was on a call, and it's been a while, but the goalposts had moved. And so when I got up there with the staff member to pull the trigger and incorporate this deal, they just started talking a totally different deal. And I said, well, you may not have meant it this way, and time has passed. But I may need to go to the guy that I spoke with because it's changed up, right? And I'm the type of guy that likes things static. I don't like it moving without me. And it was interesting because this happened twice, actually, in two different deals. But as the convo went on, they said, well, are you going to let X number of dollars break a deal? And it was like little, like $5. And I leaned back and went, no, sir, are you? See, because we know behind the scenes, this ain't about no damn $2. What this is about me as a man of values, and now I have to practice those values, and I will take the temporary loss for the long-term win, what you said earlier. And is that attractive? And yeah, it sounds good, but when you're in the moment and you have kids to feed and you have missions to fund, but see, here's the reward. People like Angelique will smell bullshit a mile away, like a bloodhound, man. And so when no one has to know these things, but when you say no to money and you're desperate, or when you take the highest road and you go, oh man, what the hell's wrong with me? Let me explain what happens. You become so undeniable that, like, when people say, how are you? And I'm like, I'll give you the American answer. I'm okay. But when I talk to my people, I'm like, I'm down. I'm struggling with this. And it's not a trauma bond thing. That's how we do it. I had a lady do that the other day. She came in and we were on a business meeting, and she came in, didn't show up to an important thing. I held firm. Everybody else was kind of like, I just held firm. I said, because I know this person. This person is not the flaky type, right? And I was concerned because that's usually the reason that they wouldn't have been there. Something bad happened. Well, they popped up in the group call and just shared the most vulnerable, open, non-business, who the hell talks like that kind of thing. And I had new people there. That was a great test because I had people I was about to do some big business with, right? And they were sitting on that call, that event. And what do? Came right around. It was like the whole thing turned into The View. It was, and you know what? The message I got from one of the people I respect said, wow, your community just matured and just went like, wow, and why? Because listen, you know me. And if somebody comes in a terrible heart state and they're going through hell, business can take a damn side road, and we're going to rally behind this person. Now, what was
Mm-hmm.
the most rewarding for me was that I had assembled like Dr. X or Professor X of the X-Men, all these damn Avengers. Like, I'm just the guy that orchestrated with the stick, right? Nobody paid $1,000 to see me do this shit but without me, it doesn't work right. It's not worth $1,000. And to see that just last week, Angelique, to see that in play it just blew the camo hat off my head. I was like, holy cow. Now, my leadership and these high level people, I just assembled them. I mean, and it was and now fruit is coming out of that, right? Projects are getting funded because we connected at a level that you just can't find nowhere. And again,
Mm-hmm.
it's not, it works. Business is coming as a byproduct. So sales is not a step to me. It's not a process to manipulate. Sales is a byproduct of following the daggum framework that we practice every day. Like, if you know me and I have a solution, it's you can afford it. You trust me. I don't have to sell that. You're supposed to go ahead and buy it. Oh, and if you don't, then you'll do it later. You'll send other people. That's why I
That's
do what I
right.
do. Because when I had somebody the other day, a while back, she got on the show, she got a client, one client. So here's what I said. Here's my sales pitch. And I want to encourage people. Stop doing the stuff that other people do. Do you. Take the principles and make it your voice. So I said, you know what? I said, did you like that? Well, yeah, I like that. I said, could you imagine what would happen if you were my sponsor and I was advocating for you for 89 days? Think about it. I just got on the show, got a client. That's an easy. See, so
Yeah.
that's what I want to encourage people. But I know there's value, and I know there's people just like me who aren't getting out there and curing cancer because somebody shit on them and they haven't got up from it. And they don't have a viable, real framework and community of people that will say no. Just like Supermom, I see something in you. Just like Tanya Eberhardt. You know, this woman doesn't need anything. Highest level woman I've ever met, contrary to me. I couldn't afford her if I sold my kidneys. This woman saw my crusty self and said, oh my God, did that say redneck financial coach? The rest is history. And then what did I do? I had courage and confidence that I wasn't full of shit, built my frameworks with her help, and the result of that was her making $250,000 in 9 months without having to do stupid things she didn't like. Divisiveness is everywhere, and I'll be honest, it's being monetized. The people shouting that stuff, they're
Yes.
not there because they believe in it in most cases. They're doing it because they're getting paid through platforms to do it. Let's be honest.
That's right.
And I'm done
That's
with
right.
it. So,
Yeah. Well, there is a new wave of consciousness coming in. This is absolute. We are, and not to sound hokey, but in the Great
yeah.
Divide, right? You're going to have people who go to left, people who go to the right, heart-centered, ego-led. They're going to coexist here in some way or the other, but I don't know if it's peaceful coexistence at the moment, but it's coexistence. And the idea is, where do you stand? And that's your choice. And if you choose to be heart-centered, yes, there's a whole community and group of people that are going to open up their hearts to you. If you choose to be, ego-centered, there's going to be a whole group of people you're going to vibe with too. I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? Is that we're all just each other's vibe and tribe. But one thing I've learned is no matter what happens in this world, if you sell your soul, you can never get that back. It may take you longer to get where it is that you want to go. And it may take a lot of digging up dog shit, as you would say. But if you know that you let that heart lead you, you are going to find it. And you cannot be caught in these traps. Materialistic, it's a trap. It's all a trap. But when you finally get on the right path with the right people, it's not hard. It's an easy flow. Everything that you've been talking about is basically what happens when you align and you are fully in your light. And all of that is alignment. Every story that you have told in the last, 45 minutes has been alignment because you know who you are, you believe in yourself, you believe in what you're bringing into the world, you know you could help other people. So your will is also in alignment with divine will, which is super, super important, right? That's what I think the gift to humanity is to teach people how to do that.
Well said.
And to not be afraid.
Or
Thank
you will be afraid. You will doubt. I mean, I seriously, I was at the breaking point not too long ago. I said, "Well, how can I do this?" And then I heard Chris Williamson, one of his clips, and he said, "I remind myself when I want to give up and it's too tough." He says, "This is the point where most folks quit." And this
Yep.
is when people say, "Man, you need to give that up. Well, you need to go get a job." Blah blah blah. You got to dig deep. And again, it's not delusion. You got to go do the things. You should be concerned, but you should not worry. And there's a big difference there. But we can get into next week or something. But the point is, I
Yeah.
want people to know, it over and over like a broken record. Even yesterday, guys, I built a relationship, but I was scared. I said, well, if I come off the wrong way, especially as me, the anti-salesy, performative, networking, fake, it, so I just said it. I said, what do I say? You say what got your ass here. You say what built you here. You just tell it. So I did. I left a voice message and I said, listen, I'm afraid I need to do a better job of getting myself out there, sharing my solutions. I'm so anti-salesy that I don't even tell people, and it's a problem. And so I said, but I was afraid to erode our relationship or miscommunicate. So if you're okay with this, here's what I like to do. I kicked the ball in her court, no performance, no polished sales speak, and let the chips fall. In other words, to hell with outcomes. And then what did I do? Because then I wanted to worry. Well, she didn't write back yet and all that stuff. Our brains do it. And then I said, you know
Oh,
what?
yeah.
You know the solution. You plant more seeds. And so I started planting other seeds. And those seeds are sprouting. So what's that going to do? That's going to give me even more confidence to handle whatever response comes out of that one. What she says, because I'm not concerned about outcome. I'm concerned about what I can do, right? My response, my ecosystem. Because I truly believe that once you
That's
dial
right.
it in and once you figure it out, it's like a pull filter. If she responds favorably, fantastic. If she doesn't, okay. Well, how do you have that confidence? Because I got 16,000 more seeds out there. And then honestly, a lot of times when you get other business, it's like dating, right? Well, I'm not interested in dating you. Well, until Angelique does, and now everybody wants to date you, right? It's just human nature.
Right.
And so play with this, be
Yeah.
more playful, start creating it, say, again, life gave me nothing but dog shit until I learned how to turn it into fertilizer. And now I can talk to people and share that with them. And
We always hear that age-old thing, and I don't know who it is attributed to, but, every no leads you closer to a yes. But what people don't understand is the reason why every no leads you closer to a yes isn't some miraculous thing. It simply means that you're continuing to do it despite the no. You become desensitized to the no because suddenly the no doesn't have an impact on you either way because you're so single-minded focused on the yes that eventually you're going to get the yes. And all the universe, as Paulo Coelho always says, all the universe will conspire in your favor. That's all it ever is, willpower. And they call it willpower for a reason, because it is literally what powers your machine, right? And it just depends on if you're attached to higher will or lower will. And how those outcomes are going to play out is going to be dependent on what road you take. But you're right. You just go down the road. You're not going to know where you're going to end up. I mean, look at you. And this is something, friends, if you want, I'm going to obviously get into this, Mike, because my God, I could sit here and talk to you for hours and hours and
like
hours.
12-hour podcast.
And I can talk and talk and talk and talk. Which is also why I love people who talk and talk and talk and talk, because it's like, oh, you find your people and they're like, and then, and you're like, and then.
But you have meaningful stuff to say. That's why nobody wants to hear me ramble if I wasn't giving out gold nuggets, and I get that. Yeah. And that's what we're not just here talking. We're here sharing things that will absolutely move people to the next level. That's what we want.
Yeah, because when we all rise together, we literally all rise. The consciousness rises, the earth rises. If we knew what really happens if we focused on our spiritual and our heart more than we focus on our bank account, every single one of us would quit our jobs and be like, all day, get that vibe. Yeah, because that's, and then we're in an inverted reality, right? Where the truth is presented as the lie. So we're told to go chase this when in reality, there's nothing to chase. It's in here.
Oh, Lord.
So I would say, so Mike, where can our friends here connect with you?
The very best place is LinkedIn. So you can find me as my real name, which I don't know how many people actually know it by now. It's Mike Ashabraner. Or you can go to LinkedIn, where you go linkedin.com/n/redneck1. You'll find me. You can also search Hounds of Business. And also YouTube. We always make sure that we post the links and the upcoming events. And, we had Women's Month, right? So test drive us. Check us out. We have a campfire group call, so you can DM me on LinkedIn. You can email me as well if that's just simpler. I'm at Mike at Redneck Financial Coach. Yep, redneckfinancialcoach.com. And just reach out. I have a group call. It's not a lecture. It's an experience. If folks come in and they like it, they see value, just like Costco. That little old lady gave me a piece of sausage on a toothpick. All she did was smile at me and gave it to me. After I ate 5 of them, hell, I bought 3 logs. That's our MO. So folks come in, if you don't like it, leave early. That's fine. But I want to bring true value, paint the picture, and then you have an invitation. You can join us now, later, or bring Sally, right? And that's it. And then the key here, that's it. I'm going to close with it. The key here is absolutely do stuff. People say, what do I do, man? At this point, some of y'all just need to get the hell off the fence and do something, because you're going to figure out what not to do. So if you come in here and it doesn't work for you, well, see, like a scientist, now you got more information. You're going to make a better second attempt. Then you're going to make a better third attempt. And you never see scientists throw the beaker and scream like a maniac, because they expect failure. They expect it. In fact, they said, shit, it worked 600 tries instead of 6,000 that we expected. So that's the mentality. Come be in the right room. Go to our live stream, Hounds of Business on YouTube. If you're not even ready to talk to us face to face, go in there and spy around, right? Go make comments on the show. Be in the right room. The right room opens all the doors. If you're a trustworthy person who builds through other trustworthy people, that's all you need to know. That's welcome home. No strays out there. No stray dogs. Welcome to the Hounds. So LinkedIn, YouTube, carrier pigeon, email me at Mike at Redneck Financial Coach.
Thank you, Mike. And we're going to put all of that information in the description, so you could just click on the link and go connect with Mike. Mike, it was so amazing having you on Call Cut with Angelique. Thank you so much for trusting me and coming here and having this wonderful conversation and opening up your heart. And thank you, friends, for listening to Mike and his story. He really does do a lot of amazing work. If you are a heart-led entrepreneur and you are looking for a new group to call home, go check out the Hounds of Business.
You are as brilliant as you are heart-centered. It's my pleasure. Can't wait to help each other more. Be good.
Thank you so much for joining me on Call Cut with Angelique. New episodes drop every Friday. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. And remember, folks, no matter what life gives you, you must always keep shining.